Hi friends, welcome to another video of Mule for Learn from D. Today we will discuss about how we can publish the MuleSoft logs to Splunk. For this case, we will use MuleSoft standalone runtime, and then we will use Splunk trial version to demonstrate this topic. So for this topic, we will use a local version of Mule standalone runtime server, and then also the trial version of Splunk we are going to install in our local. So let's see how we can do that. So as you know that for Mule runtime download, we need to go to Google, and then probably we can search with this, and then this is the link where if we go, and this is where we can download the Mule standalone runtime. And for that you need to provide all these details. So for the for our demonstration purpose, I have already downloaded the Mule for standalone runtime. And similarly, for Splunk trial version, you can go to Google and probably search with this one, Splunk trial download, and then it will show you this link. And so from here you need to either you can go to this free trials and downloads Splunk, or probably you can go to this first link, and then you will find the same this free trial and downloads option. Once you click on that, it will take you to similar to this page, and where you need to if you have already something like some account with Splunk, then probably you can log in with that username and password. If you are a new user for Splunk.com, then you need to provide the details, and then your personal email ID, or probably the professional email ID, whatever is your preference. You can use that, and then you can go to the download section. So Splunk Enterprise, this is the one we are going to use. So get my free trial, this is the option you need to select. So once you do that, you will get a zip file, and that zip file will look like this. So if you see, I have downloaded both these zip files. One is the Mule standalone runtime, that is 4.4.0 we are going to use for this demonstration, and the Splunk version that we are going to use is 8.1.10. So, and that is a 64 bit version. Okay, so these are two things we are going to use. So let me just extract this from here. So I'll do an extract. So extract to this one. So let it extract the files, and then we will see how we can configure the Splunk in our local computer. Okay, so once this one is extracted, so similarly we will also extract this zip file, and then we will use that. So our standalone runtime is extracted. Similarly, this one is yet to be extracted completely, so we will wait for this to be extracted. Now let's say this is the one we are trying to achieve here. So what we will do is, in our Anypoint Studio, we will create some Mule project, and from there whatever logs gets generated, we are going to publish that to Splunk, so that we can do some query in the Splunk, and then from there we can actually see the logs like we do for our real-time projects, where most of the time the Splunk server, Splunk dashboard we used to do, Splunk search application we use for searching the logs and do some query on them. So we will do the similar thing today in our demonstration. Okay, so let's see if it is okay. So it is almost done. So now I will go to this one. So if you see, this is how it looks like. So I will just cut this one and then I will directly place it here. Okay, so now I will remove this folder because it is not having anything. So I will just keep Splunk like this. Now I will remove this one, so delete. Okay, so now we have this Splunk folder. Inside this we have all the files which are related to Splunk. Now similarly we will do the same thing for this one, standalone. So we will take this folder out. So I'll just do a cut and from there I'll paste it here. So if you see, this is how it is looking like. Now this is an empty folder and I will remove this from here. Okay, so and this one I will keep it as is. So first of all, what we can do is um, I will try to configure Splunk so that we can actually see how the Splunk needs to be configured to get the logs from our Anypoint standalone runtime. Or probably what we can do is we will first try to create some flow here. So this is the one that is we used for earlier video. Now today we will create another flow, or probably we can use this one. So we will see that later. Now our purpose is whatever log we get used to get in the console, that the same log we want to see in the Splunk. Okay, so in the Splunk portal we want to see that part. Okay, so for that we will just go ahead and inside this folder, if you see the path here, so this is the folder where we extracted all the files, and now inside the Splunk we need to go to bin, and inside bin we need to actually run couple of commands, and for that we need to first run the command prompt as administrator. Okay, so we want to use the command prompt as administrator. So here it is, run as administrator, that is the one we need to use. So once we do that, so this is something it will come, and then we need to select yes. So now if you see, it is showing as administrator. You need to make sure that you are running it as administrator. So from here we will actually try to go to this folder. So if you see, I will copy this one, and then I will go to here, and first we need to do cdf. So because for me I was trying to do this one. Okay, cdf. 1 minute. Okay, so what we need to do is we can do like this. So we need to change the drive. That's the reason we need to use this, and then from there we need to do a cd change directory to this one. Okay, so this is how we can navigate to this folder, and once we do that, we need to run a command. Okay, so the command would be to install the Splunk D service. Okay, so we need to run this one. So make sure that you are running the command prompt as administrator. Now we need to run, this is the Splunk D install. This is the command we need to run, because this will install Splunk D service to our current computer. Okay, so I'll just press enter, and now if you see, it says installing service Splunk D, and then the service is installed, right? So Now in the same command prompt we need to run Splunk start from the bin folder only. So let me show you. Actually here we already have this Splunk, and that is the reason we are about to, we are able to run those Splunk and other commands. So here if you see, we have this Splunk, right? So this is the one we will try to use. So start Splunk start. Okay, so we have taken a fresh Splunk Enterprise trial version, and we have extracted that in our folder. And similarly this standalone runtime also we have extracted a fresh copy. So we are actually trying to configure it from the scratch. This is exactly the commands which you need to run in your Windows system. Currently I'm using Windows 11, so probably for your case you need to do it accordingly. So Splunk start, I will just press enter, and then it says this appears to be your first time running this version of Splunk. Okay, so it will check the ports. If you see 8000, and then couple of things it will just try to configure, and finally it will say Splunk D starting process ID is 17960, right? So now it should say done or something, and probably we can now go to our browser. And once we go to our browser we can, okay, so here we need to type localhost colon 8000. Okay, so 8000 is the port, right? Let's see what is the status of our command. And if you see, this has given this is the port, and this is our actual computer name. So for me it is a laptop A3, whatever it is mentioned there. So the web interface, to access the Splunk interface we need to go to this localhost. We can actually refer this to as localhost, and then 8000 would be the port. And now if we click enter, if we press enter, then it will ask for the username and password. But what is the username and password? We haven't configured any, right? So for doing that we need to run another command. So we are configuring it from the command. So we need to add the user to the Splunk so that we can actually log into, we can provide that here. So for doing that, what we will do is we will stop the Splunk for now, and then we will try to add the user. So we will type Splunk stop and then press enter. So once it is stopped, we will run another command, and that would be Splunk user add. Okay, so if you see, it is showing Splunk D stopped, so that means the Splunk is stopped now. And if we just press enter here, it should not get the, so it is not able to get the Splunk portal, right? So this is how it is controlled. So Splunk D service is needed to access the Splunk. So now what we will do is we will run another command which will add the user to our Splunk. So the command is Splunk add user, and then we will provide the username. That is, let's say we are saying DigiWorld, and then the role we will add as admin, let's say, and then the password. And the password we will use as 1234567 8. Okay, so this is how we will give the password to make it very simple. And then we will just provide some details like full name, and then this time we will mention as DigiWorld learning. Let's say we'll put it inside the double quotes, and then we'll say DigiWorld learning, right? So we'll run this command and we'll see that the Splunk let's wait for the command to be completed. Now if you see, it says user added, right? So the user is added now. Now what we will do is we'll again run the service Splunk start. So Splunk start should start our service. If you see, it is again checking those port and other thing, and then finally it will run the server. So if you see, it is running it. Once it is complete, we will try to reload our this URL, and then we will find that the Splunk would be loaded, and there we will use this same user which we have configured here. Okay, so we used Splunk add user DigiWorld, role was admin, and then the password was 12345678, and then full name, and then DigiWorld learning is the full name that we have used. Now as you see that it has already started the service, and now if we go here and if we just reload it, now this time it has loaded successfully, and we will mention DigiWorld, and then here the password is 12345678. So now if we click on sign in, then we have successfully logged into this Splunk portal, and it is giving us some help tips. So for now we will just click on got it. So our Splunk is ready. If you see, our Splunk is ready, and here whatever the full name we given there during our user add, that time whatever full name we have used, this is showing up here. Okay, and to check the licensing, we can go to the settings, and then in the system we have licensing, and then we have the trial license group. So according to Splunk website, they are saying that they provide 60 days of trial. So we are using that similar one. So just check the Splunk website, their site, so that you can get the appropriate information from there. Okay, so that is it. Now we will go back to our search and reporting. So if you see, this is the first time we have come to this application, that is search and reporting. So inside Splunk we have multiple applications, and search and reporting is one of those applications. And because we have come first time to this application, it is trying to give us some tour, but for now we will just click on skip. And this is the portal which most of us are pretty much familiar with, I think. And here we used to put our search string, but the thing is that before actually we do some search, we need something, right? We need some log and something. So for that, what we can do is, um, this is the earlier project that we used for another video. And for that, what it does is we place a purchase order file, and then that is transformed into a JSON and XML. The source file is XML, and then it is transformed into JSON. Probably you can refer to that video for the more details, and we write it to another folder. So for this one, couple of logs gets printed to our console. So let me just run this particular project, because we won't create a separate one to keep the time efficient, so that we can concentrate more on getting the logs to the Splunk portal, right? So that is what we are trying to do in this particular video. So let's see, we have this one, and then here is the sample files. Okay, so once it is deployed, so if you see, we had the sample file, and this is the one that we will use. Let me show you what is the data inside this. Probably you can refer to the earlier video, you will find the same thing. So this is how the data looks like. Okay, so I will just copy this one and I will place it inside this input folder. So I'll paste it here, and if you see, once I do that, we are getting complete log, right? The source file data along with the target file, whatever we have written to the output folder, the same data we are also getting, right? So in the output folder, this is the one that has been generated today. So if I open this one, and this is how it looks like, and that is the same data we have in the log, right? So we are pretty much okay with this log, and now our intention is to see this log from our Splunk. So how can we do that? So that would be please pay more attention to this configuration, and don't skip the video. So we will go each and every details. So uh, let's uh, let's see how exactly where actually these logs gets printed, where from the console logs are coming inside Anypoint Studio, right? So that is the thing we want to first identify where from these logs are getting printed to our console inside the Anypoint Studio. So what we can do is, whenever we run any project, if you see, we have something like this. So I'll just go to the first place. So if you see, this is the location where our Mule server is running, right? So this is the location where our Mule server is running. So for every Anypoint Studio, you will find this similar thing, and you need to go to that folder. So let us go to this folder, and we will try to find what is there. So this Mule is basically this is the command there it is trying to run internally. So we need to go to this folder. So we will see what is there inside that folder, right? So if you see, this is the one. So this if you follow the folder structure and other thing, this side inside Mule. Okay, so this is the folder actually. So inside Mule, so this is the actual folder where our applications are running from our Anypoint Studio, right? So if you see, this is pretty much similar with the actual the standalone runtime. So if you see, this is the standalone runtime, and this is our Anypoint Studio. This is the runtime which is being currently our Anypoint Studio is actually using. So now if we go inside this, if you see, it is pretty much similar. We have apps folder, app staging, though we don't have app staging here yet, but probably that will be created when we will deploy our application directly to this standalone runtime. Currently there is nothing in our standalone runtime, but whenever we deploy any app or any Mule project from our Anypoint Studio, that comes to this apps folder. If you see, this is how it is looking like, right? So this is the one, and similarly we will check other folders. So the bin folder is there, config, domains is there, library, logs, policies, most of the things are similar, right? Now this is the logs folder that is actually we are trying to find. So if you see, this is the folder where all those logs get generated, and we actually get all our console logs from this particular folder. Okay, so the files, this is our application specific this application specific logs are there. So let's say this is the one mule underscore ee. So this is the one which got updated today, and if you see, this will have the actual logs that we are seeing in the in our console. So let me open this one. So if you see, this is pretty much what we have got in our console from this mule underscore ee file. And then all towards the end, if you see, this is the one that is actually getting shown in our console log, right? So if you see, this is the file. Okay, so now we have identified like where from our logs are getting printed to our console, right? So this is the folder we will try to use for our Splunk, because from there only we will try to get our logs, right? Because the console is trying to get the data from this particular file mule underscore EE, that is enterprise edition, and from here only it prints those log data to our console. So similar thing we will do here. So what we need to do is we need to go to settings, and then in the data inputs we need to go there, and then we need to select file and directories. Okay, so there will be multiple local inputs it will show us, but we need to select on these files and directories. Okay, so I'll click on this one. We have some of the records existing, but we will click on this new local file and directory. We'll click on this one, and this is where we need to place our this location. Okay, so we will take this location, we'll copy this, and then we'll print it here, we will paste it here. Okay, so once we do that, then we have some other properties that we need to configure. So I'll keep whitelist and blacklist, I will keep it as is, and then I will click on next. So what I do when I do that, it will take me to the next screen, and here it says it is actually taking the host name field from the computer name. So because my laptop name is given as this one. So if I go to my computer and just try to see the properties, this is my computer name showing. Okay, so we can probably keep it as is, and this is the one. So what we will do is we will create a new index instead of using the default one. So we will click on that create new index, and then we will type MuleSoft, because we want to we are trying to use the logs from Mule server, and these are MuleSoft specific logs. So that's the reason we will name the index as MuleSoft. Okay, and we will keep other properties as is, and then we will click on save. Now it is coming as MuleSoft. Okay, so this is the property we need to select, we need to configure here, and then we will click on review. And once we do that, it will just give us the complete picture of what we are going to do. And if you see, the app context was by default, we didn't change that, so by default it is search. So in the search, that index would be used. Okay, so and if you see, this is the log location that we have used. So now I will click on submit, and once we do that, and then this particular screen will come, and then we need to click on this start searching. So once we do that, and this is how the logs will come in our Splunk. Okay, So now if we just remove this from here, remove this source part, and then we have this one as this, the host name is this one. So for real-time project where you will get the your MuleSoft servers would be the remote servers that would be not local, but for our case our MuleSoft server as well as the Splunk server both are running in our personal laptop. So that's the reason we are able to get the details from the local files, right? And the host name is coming like this. But in case you will you have the MuleSoft server running in a different computer and then the one where your Splunk server is running, in that case this host name will refer to the host name of that MuleSoft server. Okay, so that is how it is. And now if you see we have this one, this is the property we have, so probably we can do some filtering on this. So instead of just mentioning host and port, probably we will put some space and then we'll put double quote and then we'll put something like this. And if we search now, then it will show us only the app specific logs. Okay, and similarly if you see, we let's say we want to see only the logs from a particular event. So in that case we will copy this event ID that is automatically generated by MuleSoft, and then we can put it here. So similarly we will put double quotes and then star, then like this, and then star, and then double quote end. And now if we do that, so let's say for when we put this as the search string, we had 324 events. Now, and also please make sure that you change this particular time window according to your requirement. So for now, let's say I am trying to filter the log using the event ID. So if I do that, then if you see, it is showing only 6 events. So that means our Splunk, I mean, whenever we see the logs in our console, then that is we know that it is helpful for the development environment. But whenever we have the QA environment or production environment, that is where most of the time we use Splunk or similar tools, right? So this is how we can use a Splunk to get the logs, I mean the MuleSoft logs, and this is how we can configure the Splunk server in our local. So and this is the way we can actually filter out the logs which are present in our Splunk. So now if you see, it is giving us 6 events, right? So 6 events. And now if we want to see the complete data, so we have the complete data here, right? So this is how we can do that. Now let's see, in case we want to use we want to see the logs from the Mule standalone runtime server, not from the Anypoint Studio. So in that case, what we need to do, so first what we can do is we need to copy this, I mean we need to export this one as the deployable jar file. So right now we are trying to see the steps which we need to follow to export the deployable archive from our Mule Anypoint Studio, and then we will take that to our standalone runtime server and we will deploy. Okay, so now what we will do is we'll right click on this and then we will select export, and then we have Mule, and then we will select Anypoint Studio project to Mule deployable archive. So somehow this is the location by default it is taking, but we won't use that location. So what we will do is we will take we will provide another location. So let's say this is the location I will put there inside the this one. So let's say this is how I'm putting it, and this is the location where I want the Anypoint Studio to place the deployable jar file. Now if you see the automatically attached sources, that option is selected, but uh, attached project sources, this one I will uncheck that one, and then include project modules and dependencies, this part we will keep it as is. Now if we click select, finish, then it is showing that it has successfully produced the jar file. It has successfully exported it. So now we will go to that location and we will take that jar file and try to run that in our Mule runtime server. Okay, so inside Anypoint Studio we will just terminate this one so that we don't get anything from here. Now we will try to take our jar file that we have created here, and we will try to okay, so we'll copy this one, and so this is the one that we are going to use, 4.4, and inside this we will go to this one, and we'll select this path, and then we'll just type cmd. So by doing that, it will open the command prompt with that location, and here the command we need to type is mule.bat. Once we do that, we need to press enter, and then if you see similar thing, it is coming, but this time it is the standalone runtime, right? And if you see, currently we don't have anything in our apps folder. So we don't have anything in the apps folder. So what we can do is we will copy this one which we have exported from our studio. We will copy this one, and then we'll go to our standalone runtime server, and in the apps folder we'll just paste it. So once we do that, if you see, it is in our log, it is showing like installing new app and then something similar to that. And then if you see, our app is started, right? Our app is started. So that means this time we are not running our Mule project from our Anypoint Studio internal runtime. We are actually we have deployed our app to the Mule standalone runtime server, right? So this is the Mule runtime server where we have placed it, and now we will try to fetch the log from here. So similarly, the way we try to go to the logs location, so similarly we will try to go to our Anypoint standalone runtime logs, and if you see, this is the one, and here similarly we have the same log, right? So we have the same log. Now if we go to if we open this mule underscore ee, then we will see the similar log that is actually showing there in our command prompt. So if you see, this is the one that is being referred in our command prompt. So this is the file, right? So what we will do is, the way we added the Splunk log, so similarly we will try to do the same thing. We will click on settings, and then we will click on data inputs, and we will click on files and directories. And if you see, this is the one that is referring to our Anypoint Studio server, the internal server. So now we will again click on new local file and directory, and this time we will put this location, the logs location. So let me tell you that you can actually mention any specific files, or you can mention the directory, and if you mention the directory, then it will take all the files to present in that directory. But if you just mention the mention the file name, then only that file would be used by Splunk to get the logs. Okay, so just make sure that you configure this property accordingly based on your requirement. So now if you see, I have put the log location of our standalone runtime server, which is this one, and the similar setup we have already done in our for our Mule Anypoint Studio internal runtime server. This time we are using the standalone runtime. Now I will click on next, and then if you see, the app context is currently search and reporting, so I will keep it as is. Just for your reference, if you see, these are all apps which are currently present in our Splunk. So these are by default, these are default apps which comes whenever we install install the Splunk. So this time also, this host field value, this is automatically populated. I'll keep it as is. And similarly here we have the it is trying to use the default index, but I will use the MuleSoft one, right? So because this time we already created the MuleSoft index earlier, so we don't need to create any new index for this one. We will just click on this drop down menu, and then from here we will select MuleSoft, right? And that is pretty much. And I will go to the review stage, and this time if you see directory monitor, so that means internally Splunk is trying to put some monitor on this particular directory, and whatever files are present, it is trying to fetch the data from all those files as and it is actually showing all those logs to the Splunk portal. In which app? In the search and reporting app, right? So now I will just click on submit, and then I'll just go to the start searching. So similarly, if you see, the similar things we already have seen earlier, but this time it is from the standalone runtime, right? So let's see what it is showing. So this is the purchase order application. Okay, all right, that is looking correct. And this is something which are actually different logs it is trying to show us. So let's say I'm just removing this part, and then I'll just mention host name and the index. So when I see when I mention host and index, and this time what I will do is, instead of all time, I'll mention last 15 minutes. So when I say last 15 minutes, only 14 events are present, and out of those 14 events, what are the logs it is trying to see. So if you see the source DigiWorld learning examples and Mule, so this is the one that is our standalone runtime. And let's see if it is showing anything from our this earlier Mule Anypoint Studio internal runtime. So actually not, it is not showing anything. And if you see, on 20 records per page, we are trying to show it here. So now what I will do is, because our app is running in the Mule standalone runtime server, so I will go to our this folder example, then inside this I'll take the sample file, and I will click on copy. And before that, actually we need to record the timestamp, so it is 5:28:44.296. This is the timestamp it is currently showing up. So I'll keep the last 15 minutes as the time window, and then I will copy this one, copy, and then I'll go to the input, and then I'll place it here. So let's see if it works. And this time also it has picked up by the Mule app, which is currently deployed to our Mule standalone runtime, right? So here it is picked up by our this one, this deployed DigiWorld Mule ABC XYZ purchase order version 1. So in this app it has picked, because our Anypoint Studio this server is not running, so there is no option to pick the file by this particular server. So whatever we have deployed in the standalone runtime, that has picked the file, right? But one thing you should observe is that after the started app, nothing is there in the console, right? So what about all these details? Whenever for the Mule internal Anypoint Studio internal server, whatever after this deployed thing, whatever file was read by our Mule application, those data that was printed, right? That was printed in the console. But in this case, we don't have that data in the console. Then where is that data? Where is that log that we are printing by this logger element, this logger element, right? So to know that, we need to again go to the logging section of that particular uh, that folder. So here inside our standalone runtime, I will go to logs, and this time if you see, instead of updating the mule underscore ee, it has updated the DigiWorld mule file read version 1. This is the file it has actually updated, and let's see what is there inside this. So inside this, if you see, all those data got printed, right? So that is the thing. So this is an application specific log. So whenever we deploy our application to standalone runtime, that time the mule underscore ee, this file only used to record the deployment specific details, right? So that is the reason we are able to see the application deployment specific log here in the console. However, we are not able to see the application specific, I mean whatever the application specific transactional log, or let's say whatever the logs that are getting printed by our application, I mean the MuleSoft application, those are not recorded or not shown by in the console, right? So we need to keep in mind that this is how the standalone runtime log actually works. So in case of Anypoint Studio, everything we can see in the console, but for standalone runtime, we have the deployment log shown in the console. However, the application specific logs are actually recorded in a separate file, and this is how it is named. But how do we confirm that this is our application log? Because this name is something different, right? DigiWorld Mule file read version 1. How this is not actually matching with our application. So let me tell you that actually if you follow the video series, then this app was actually first created with this name, right? So let me go to that folder once again. So this app was created with this name, this DigiWorld Mule ABC XYZ purchase order, whatever you are seeing it now, this was actually created earlier with this name. So but the thing is that we have already updated this name. Then how come the logs are getting printed with this name? Still it is using the old name. Why is it that? So to search for search for that configuration, we need to go to our src inside our Mule project, and then inside our Mule project we will have something like this log4j. Inside src main resources, we have log4j2.xml. just open that file, and then inside this just open it. So let me just adjust the window size, and now if you see this configuration here, it is mentioned as like this. So this is the particular configuration, this is the file is used by our MuleSoft application to actually produce the, I mean the print the log data. Okay, so this is the, from here this is the configuration which controls what will be printed in the log and how that log should be shown to the I mean in that log file, right? So this is how it is. So now if you see DigiWorld Mule, this is how it is given here. That is the reason we are seeing this particular file here. So what we can do is, instead of making this one, we will try to update this and we'll try to use our latest name. So what is our latest name? This is, let's say, DigiWorld Mule, and then we have XYZ, and then first it is ABC, then XYZ, and then we have purchase order V1, right? So I'll just change this one as purchase order. So the purchase order V1, right? So this is how, and let's say this one, instead of event, we want to make it like, okay, just we will just keep it as is now. So we have corrected this file name. Now let's say we want to save this one. So if you see a star is indicating that our file is not saved, so I'll press Ctrl S, and this time it should create a file if you with this name, and it should append it with this .log, right? And that is how the files are getting created. This is a log file, right? So again, because this is not, we are not running this in our internal Anypoint Studio runtime, so that's the reason we need to do another export. And this time I will just again I need to uncheck this attach project source, because I don't want this source code to be attached to the deployable jar file, because that makes the jar file or the export file size bigger size. It produces a bigger size file. So I want to keep it lightweight, so I'll just click on finish, and then it is asking me the file already exists and do you want to replace it. I'll say yes. And now if you see, project exported successfully at this jar file. Okay, that is good. Now what I can do is, okay, so just observe this log. It is now started app DigiWorld, something is showing. Now what I will do is, I won't actually stop the server. I will directly take the this one. I will directly take the, so if you see the timestamp has been updated, so I will directly take this one, copy, and then I'll go to this standalone runtime folder, and then inside apps I'll just place it here. Okay, so I'll place it, and then let's see what it is happening. So if you see, disposing application, and then undeployed and new app, so it has taken the latest app from here. So, and if you see, the timestamp is also updated. Now let's send some request to our application. Okay, and another thing is that inside this log folder, so DigiWorld Mule file read version 1. So let's also see what is there inside our log folder. So this is not the log folder, so let me go to the logs folder in our standalone runtime. Logs folder is this one, and we have this one. Now let's see, what I will do is, I will try to send the sample request to this particular this is the, for this folder name is just we are using the earlier one, so no, just don't worry about that one. So I'll just copy this, and then I'll put it inside input folder, right? Now once I do that, it has picked up the file, and let's just observe the logs folder, and just I'll refresh this, and looking like it has again took the latest, I mean the existing file only. So let's do one thing. So inside this one we don't have anything, but this file, it is still the same file, it is showing up here. So what I will do is, I will just remove this. Okay, so let me just stop the server. I will just press Ctrl C, Ctrl C. So our server is stopped, and I will just remove everything whatever we have. So these are the files that got created when we, so I'll just remove all of them. And now This time I will just start the server once again. So mule.bat, and let's check. So it has started initializing the app, deployed. Still it is DigiWorld Mule file read app. Okay, so if you see again the same file got generated with the older name. So what could be the reason? Okay, so to check that, let's go to our apps and go inside this one and check the log4j, whatever it is there now. Open it with notepad. We have the correct one here mentioned, so let's check if there is any other place where this name is. If you see here, this is the place where we have missed. Okay, so this is we actually updated the wrong place, that is file pattern. However, we should have updated the file name. So the file name is still showing this. So currently I am seeing I mean inside the server I am checking this. So we for ideal scenario where we work for the actual Mule project, that time most of the time the developer don't have access to the upper environment server logs. They just can go to Splunk, and from there only they used to read, I mean see the file logs. So in our application we should update the file name. Okay, so that is the issue. So what we can do is we will go to this one, and then again we'll copy this. We will change this to Control C, and then we'll make it this one. Okay, so file pattern, logs, file separator, and log, this one. Okay, so now file pattern is this. Okay, so now we have updated this, and we'll press Control S, and then what we can do is we will just create another export. So we have done this earlier as well, so we'll another export, and then uncheck this one. I'll make it finish, and then do you want to replace it? Yes, I want to replace it. So it has now created the new jar file. I'll take it from there. So this is the jar file. I'll copy this, and then I'll go to apps folder, and I'll just paste it here. Once I do that, then automatically it has taken that one. So our server was running, and now this time if we send the request, it should create the new log file with the correct name, and then it should print it there. Okay, so what we can do is I'll take two folders. Let's say these two folders I'm taking, and the logs folder I'll keep it like okay, if you see, it has already created the new one. Okay, so that means if you see this will no longer be used now. So that was an old file, and this is the one that would be updated now. Okay, so let's do this. I have already copied the input file for this one, so I'll just paste it here, and once I do that, let's see what happens. So in the log, this is what. So if I refresh this folder, then the timestamp got updated, and this time we have the correct log here, and this is how it is looking like. Okay, so that is pretty much like how we can use the logs from here. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.